This simple psychological trick significantly raises your value in the eyes of anyone on the receiving end, without the need for money, power, or even that BBL you're thinking of getting. But first, let's play a game. I'm going to describe two very common phenomena, and your goal is to figure out how these phenomena are connected before I actually explain it. Winner gets a new spaceship. The first phenomenon in psychology is known as the Ikea effect. Ikea, of course, is the world-famous Swedish furniture shop that's primarily known for successfully tricking customers into paying to build their own furniture. The Ikea effect describes how we tend to place more value on things we've built, created, or in the case of Ikea furniture, assembled ourselves in comparison to the same thing if it were made by somebody else, which is probably why it's so difficult to convince parents that their children are rubbish. But I'll never stop trying. The second phenomenon, in psychology, is known as the bitter ex-girlfriend furious that her ex-boyfriend has gotten married to another woman effect. Have you ever seen one of them videos with a woman complaining that when she met him, he was a waste of space bum, and that she was the one who saw his potential, she was the one who got him to cut his hair, she was the one that got him to trim his beard, she was the one who taught him that the dishes go in the dishwasher, not the washing machine, and now he's taken all that civilised maturity that she spent years moulding and he's given it all to another woman. Time's up. Congratulations if you won the spaceship. For the rest of you, let me explain. A study published in 2012 titled The Ikea Effect When Labour Leads to Love details 4 experiments in which participants were instructed to assemble Ikea boxes, fold origami, whatever that is, and build Lego sets. Across these experiments, the researchers found that these amateur builders consistently judged their own creations as being more valuable monetarily than others who didn't contribute to the amateur creation. Additionally, these participants saw their amateur level creations as being of similar value to experts' creations and even expected others to share their opinion. But obviously, no one else did.
Wow.
This Ikea effect can even be seen with food preparation. Ever seen an advert for companies like HelloFresh or Blue Apron? Instead of ordering a fully prepared meal, people were ordering a box of ingredients with an instruction manual. It's basically food Ikea. And you must have already heard the story about how the sales of cake mix skyrocketed once the company removed the egg from the premix formula and turned it into an Ikea cake by requiring the extra step of cracking your own egg into the powder and mixing it yourself before baking. There just seems to be this magical feeling you get when you can look at the finished article knowing that it's a product of your labour. Maybe you don't want to do all the work, but you need to do some of the work in order to feel like you're a part of it and it's a part of you. A sense of ownership and a judgment of value that comes from within rather than being forced upon you by society. So the good news is that same psychological effect of building occurs in the world of dating and relationships. But the bad news is I'm not allowed to teach you exactly how to build your own sex robot. At least not without getting age restricted. So instead, I'm going to teach you a different way. But because of who the analytics tell me my audience is, let's use the example of how a man's value can be boosted in the eyes of a woman. There currently seems to be 2 kinds of women. Women who believe they can mould a good man into a great husband, and women who want to find a great husband pre-assembled. And you don't have to look far to see what I'm talking about. We all know that bloke who dressed like he fell out of Narnia blindfolded every morning, and then got a girlfriend, and 6 months later, he looks like he's in a Korean boy band. This kind of fashion and grooming transformation typically occurs in a relationship where a girl finds a bloke with good morals and character, but feels like there are some non-essential improvements that can be made. And for women, this boyfriend makeover process has been a source of immense satisfaction for decades. I weren't there myself, but talking to some of the older women in my family, it seems that in the past, when a woman spoke of seeing a man's potential, she meant that he had the potential to wear matching clothes and remember to flush the toilet after taking a dump. Whereas now, potential seems to primarily refer to a guy's likelihood of making loads of money, which, in a capitalist society with rising costs and fewer safety nets, makes sense, but has 2 downsides. The first is if a man's potential is mainly financial, then there's very little a woman can actually do to contribute to him realising that potential. She's just in the cinema hoping that the movie ends up being as good as it looked in the trailer. And just like when a movie with a good trailer turns out to be rubbish, if he don't fulfil his financial potential, she can end up feeling like she was hoodwinked. But the second downside is, and I want to speak directly to women on this one, even if he does fulfill his financial potential, you might be really happy at first, but psychologically, you will never be able to value the origami that your man has built himself into as much as he feels he should be valued. And the moment he thinks he's found another woman who values his financial origami more than you do, well, let's just hope you didn't completely neglect to see if he had good morals and character. I guess what I'm saying is, whether you're a man or a woman, maybe seeking the already assembled high-value partner, although more attractive on the outset, may actually lead to you valuing those high qualities less than other qualities of objectively lower value that you actually had a hand in building yourself. So then you might ask, so what, am I supposed to lower my standards and accept less than I deserve? No, but I am pointing out that, from a purely psychological standpoint, it's definitely worth examining why you think you deserve what you're looking for in a partner. Because if you're basing it on how valuable you consider yourself to be, at least check to make sure that you're not Ikea affecting yourself. Because self-improvement culture, self-improvement, me first, boss babe, therapy, meditation culture, encourages people to work on themselves first. And once they've built the best version of themselves, then they'll be deserving of a high-value partner. Which sounds extremely reasonable. Unfortunately, there's a real chance that because of the Ikea effect, the time, effort, and even money you've spent building this better version of yourself will lead you to thinking that the improved you is way more valuable to other people than it actually is. Now don't get me wrong, working to build something to meet the specification already labelled valuable by others, whether it be physical, financial, academic, or any other specific requirement, is fine because you're just giving people the value they've specified. And as long as you ensure you're not succumbing to the IKEA effect and overvaluing your worth, then you should be fine. But working to create something on your own and then expecting it to be as valuable to other people who haven't already told you they find it valuable could lead to a rude awakening. Because if you think you're more valuable than you actually are, there's a serious chance that you won't be satisfied with the quality of partners that you attract on the level that you're currently at, because you see the better version of yourself that you've built as being at a higher level than it's being judged to be by other people. And how can you truly appreciate the person you're with if you feel like they're not as valuable as the partner that you feel your better self is entitled to? And if you are lucky enough to find that pre-assembled high-value partner you feel you deserve, pre-assembled is never as valuable as that which you had a hand in building yourself. So will that high-value partner ever be as valuable as you? We just have to ask all those high-value people who just keep jumping around from one high-value partner to the next. It seems like women are more upset about not reaping the benefits of a medium-value man that they built up from a low-value man than they are about losing a high-value man that just walked into their life fully formed. Maybe long-lasting marriages exist, not because they married the perfect person, but because of how much they each value their imperfect creation. Which brings me on to my next point. A mutual IKEA effect is always going to be more durable than a one-sided effect. Because the better qualities that you've built on your own will never be valued as much by another person as the qualities you've worked on together. This means better qualities in yourself or the other person. Here's a simple, non-money, looks, status or anything else shallow example. Teaching yourself to speak French will make you value yourself as a French speaker. Teaching someone else to speak French will make you value them as a French speaker more than if they learnt on their own. But teaching someone to speak French whilst allowing them to teach you how to speak Spanish means that you probably won't value your individual selves as much as if you'd done it on your own, but you'll each value the other person more and by extension place a much greater value on yourselves as a synergistic unit, and you won't want to let it go. Some ambitious couples reap the benefits of the synergistic IKEA effect by building a business together, but the benefits can come from the work you put into building a relationship, building a family, building your family home, all things you'll value more for building rather than just receiving. Just make sure it's mutual and make sure you finish the job. Going back to the original IKEA effect study, the experimenters found that if the participants either didn't complete the building task or were instructed to dismantle what they'd built, the IKEA effect wouldn't be present. And there's nothing worse than not completing the job, dumping someone because you couldn't build them into the person you thought you could, only for all your work building them to reveal itself on a delay, by which point they've already moved on to another person and taken all that value you've built with them. And what makes it even worse is the fact that all the value you built in the other person has now gone to someone who won't even appreciate it as much as you do because they weren't the ones that built it. I guess the real lesson from this thought experiment is this. A truly high value partner ain't built before a relationship with 2 hands, they're built within a relationship with 4 hands. And that is the simple psychological trick that makes anyone look high value. It just turns out, psychologically speaking, it's a trick you'll be mainly using on yourself. So the next time that shallow societal standards have you worried that you're not high value enough to attract a high value partner, I want you to take a long look in the mirror and remind yourself, it probably ain't that hard to build a sex robot.
Gentlemen, now.